Protesters in Europe, Australia and South America have taken to the streets to condemn Israel's interception of an aid flotilla challenging the blockade of Gaza. The Israelis detained more than 400 foreign activists aboard 40 vessels and plan to deport them. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the Israeli Navy had repelled a campaign of delegitimization against Israel. Inside Gaza, officials say Israeli strikes killed at least 52 people on Thursday. Meanwhile, thousands of Palestinians continue to flee Gaza City amid an ongoing Israeli ground offensive to take full control of the area. Meanwhile, the White House says President Trump will draw a red line on how long to wait for Hamas to respond to a US proposal aimed at ending the war in Gaza. On Tuesday, Mr. Trump said that Hamas had 3 to 4 days to reply to his 20-point framework, which has largely been accepted by Israel. While our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher spoke to us from Jerusalem with the latest on the detained activists.
The last number I saw of those who'd been detained was 443 foreign activists from many different countries, a lot of them from Europe, some of them from South America. So you had widespread protests once they were detained, protests in Spain, in Belgium, in Switzerland, in Italy. In Italy, they're calling a strike today to show solidarity. Also protests in Buenos Aires and Brasilia. So very widespread reaction to what happened. A number of harsh commendations from several governments, from Colombia, from Turkey. But the Israelis say that they handled this responsibly. They said it was a major operation because there were some 42 boats. They picked up the activists in international waters. And they filmed themselves doing that and posted clips later saying that all of the activists were safe. They also said that they had checked the boats looking for this aid that the flotilla was carrying. They didn't really find much, which they say basically bolstered their claim that this was all a stunt or a provocation. But it was in actual fact a very high-profile demonstration of opposition to the blockade of Gaza, where famine has been declared, the intense international opposition to it that has been growing. There were a number of famous or high-profile people on board, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, several European politicians. So it does show that global solidarity with the Palestinians has been growing over the past year.
Yeah, let's talk about Gaza because the Israeli military push there continues and we are awaiting the response from Hamas to the peace plan put forward by President Trump. What's the latest on that? President Trump saying he's drawing a red line. He'd given a sort of loose time frame, hadn't he, of sort of 3 or 4 days?
Yes, he gave that loose time frame early in the week, so that would be about now, really, but he didn't make it a firm deadline. Still, everybody is waiting to see what Hamas says to the peace plan. The mediators, Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, are pressing very hard for Hamas to accept this plan, even though they themselves have reservations about it, but they see it as a way that could end the war. Now, BBC sources say that they have made contact, or that the mediators have made contact with the head of the military wing in Gaza, Zadina Haddad, and they are reporting, and we understand that he is not inclined to accept the plan, that he basically believes that this is a plan to finish off Hamas, whether the group accepts it or not, and so it's better to fight until the end. There are a number of problems that the Hamas has with the plan. In particular, it calls on the group to disarm. Now, the group has said it would not disarm until a sovereign Palestinian state was declared. That's been its position until now. Another thing that Hamas has problems with is the demand that all of the hostages, there are 48 hostages, around 20 of whom still believed to be alive, be handed over at the beginning of this process. So in the first 72 hours, all the hostages would be handed over rather than in phases like previous ceasefires. And Hamas sort of sees this as giving away their only card right at the beginning, which would make them vulnerable. They don't trust President Trump's guarantee that Israel would not restart the war as soon as it gets its hostages back, especially after Israel attacked the Hamas leadership in Qatar. So these are some of the misgivings that they have. It should be said that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accepted the plan officially in Washington, but in Israel, he has also been pushing back on the terms in his statements. For example, he says it will allow the Israelis to retain parts of Gaza, which is not what the plan says. It says they would move to a security buffer on the edge of the strip. It also says that there's an insistence there will not be a Palestinian state, and in fact the plan says that there might be a credible path to a Palestinian state if everything works out. So he has put his own take on the terms, but right now what everyone is waiting for is to see how Hamas officially responds to what many are hoping could be a way to end the Gaza war.
That was Barbara Pertasher reporting there from Jerusalem. Let's just take another look at those pictures there. 9 vessels as part of that flotilla of activists making their way towards Gaza. As we've been reporting this morning, Israelis have detained more than 400 foreign activists in those street protests taking place across Europe, across Australia and across South America. Lots of international eyes on that flotilla as it carries on.